Hey, good morning. This is Brian with Fantasy Boom talking about the slate for draft on 4/29/2018 NBA DFS. We are a brand new channel and we're the only channel covering draft and predict picks. No Draft Kings, no FanDuel, no fantasy draft. Draft and predict picks. So hit that subscribe button, give a thumbs up. The way these videos usually work is that I conduct a live draft beforehand. Draft is a snake draft format. You don't have to worry about being contrarian. You just make your picks. I always play head-to-head. I do $25 head-to-heads, and then I talk about my previous slate, and then talk about or my previous draft, I should say, and then I talk about today's slate. So I had already done my video, made a bunch of adjustments to my spreadsheet, and then realized the video didn't come out well, so I'm kind of doing this one a little bit different today. I've already done my draft today. This is not a great slate for draft. Because if you get the number one pick, you're fine. You're going to get LeBron James today and 2 stars. If you get the number 2 pick like I did, you're going to get 2 stars, some crappy forwards, and by draft projections, he's projected to slaughter me tonight. So I'm not feeling too good about this one, but I rolled the dice, hoping I get the number 1 pick and walk away with the win. But you never know what happens. So I got Harden and Paul. I actually picked Paul ahead of Oladipo and Mitchell tonight. We'll talk about that in a second. Got Crowder and Young at the forwards and Capella. He, again, had a much better draft with Oladipo, Mitchell, LeBron, Kevin Love, and Gobert. Now, I already deleted my draft from a couple nights ago. I didn't play last night. It wasn't a good night to play at all because there was no center options, and you never know what you're getting with Boston and Milwaukee. But I lost by 5.5 the other night. It was if you played DFS a couple nights ago, you know that it was one of those cluster nights where the stars didn't do well and the role players did a lot better. And what ultimately killed me was that they picked Oladipo. He had that triple-double. And I had Paul George, who went, 2 for 16 from the field or something. If he would have had 6 more real points, I would have won the game. But my team actually was a lot better than his, and I had LeBron projected at 45, and that's about what he had. So my guys actually did pretty well, but because he had the big Oladipo play and I had the awful Paul George play, I lost that one by 5.5. I've yet to lose 2 nights in a row since doing these videos, but tonight could be the night. We'll see. Let's talk about the slate here. Like I said, this is one of those ones where you're going to need to get the first pick in the draft. And if you haven't played draft yet, check the description of this video. Click my link. You'll get a free $3 entry with your first deposit, so you can try it out. But again, it's one of those nights you need the number 1 pick. LeBron, he's averaging 62 in the 10 games versus these guys, 62, 74, and 72 at home. And in Game 7s, he's averaging 46 minutes a game, so he should be a monster tonight. James Harden, I have him projected very high with 67, and he's averaging 58 in the 4 versus these guys, so he could be he potentially could be as good or better than LeBron tonight, potentially. And he is averaging 61.5 for these versus these guys at home, but he's only had 50 plus. He hasn't scored very well in the playoffs so far, as DFS wise. But 50 plus in the last 3, but nowhere near the 67 projection. The only time he had 67 was Game 1 versus Minnesota. Chris Paul, who has not been that good fantasy-wise either, he's averaging 51 in the 3 versus Utah, and basically what he's doing is alternating games, good games and bad games. He'll have 25, 30 fantasy points, then he'll have 50. So in the 2 in that series, he had 50 and 52 at home, and the 2 in Utah during the regular season, he had 58 and 52. He had 40 on the road, but he seems to be very good at home versus these guys, so I decided to roll the dice with him above Oladipo and Mitchell tonight. Oladipo projects higher than what he averages versus these guys, and even though he had the big triple-double, most of his games have been about 37 fantasy points, and the last 2 in Cleveland, I should say, have been at that number, 37, so even though I kind of wanted to ride his hot hand, I have to believe that LeBron and company adjust tonight. Clint Capella, I really like him as a center tonight. He's averaging 37 in 3 games versus these guys in just 21 minutes. He's been playing 31 minutes in the playoffs and averaged 44 in the 2 at home against them. Now, he had one game The numbers are a little bit bloated because he had one game in those 3 during the regular season that was insane, like 19 boards. And then he had one game that wasn't that good. And he's averaging close to 4 fouls against them. So there is some risk, but I like his upside quite a bit. Donovan Mitchell, even though I project him very high at 49, he's averaging 28 in the 4 games versus these guys this year in 29 minutes. Now, I'm projecting him about 38 minutes, so that means, 37 fantasy points is what he would get under how he's played this season. But he's been over 44 last 4 of his 6, so he's kind of a wild card tonight. I'm just kind of going with my gut that he doesn't have a good game. Now, on paper, you would think Ricky Rubio doesn't play, so he should step it up. I'm going with the gut that he doesn't play well tonight. That the moment's a little bit too big for him. Utah just played a couple nights ago. Rudy Gobert averaging 26 against these guys on the season in 3 games and about 6 less minutes. So 30 plus is very likely for him tonight. Kevin Love has been awful this season, and he's still, even though he's averaging 26 in this series, has still managed to average 31 in 10 games against these guys. But I have no interest in him. Jay Crowder, he's one of the guys I hope steps it up big time tonight. And I don't really know how I ended up with these guys. I should have had a better options at forwards tonight, but this was just a weird draft for me tonight. Crowder had 30 in the one time he played Houston. Now, he had 5 assists that game. I don't think he's going to have 5 assists. So I think the mid-20s is really possible for him. He is better on the road. He's had 26 3 times in the series, this number. And then the other games he's had about 10. So it's like he's pretty much giving you a good game or one of the worst games of all time. I need him to be good tonight. Thaddeus Young, I don't like him in this series at all. I don't like him in Cleveland, but he's the guy I'm going with. He just on paper just has a better matchup than Bogdanovich and even Derek Favors to me, because Derek Favors averaging 19 in the 3 games against these guys this year in 4 less minutes, but still 19, and he's only had 2 good games in the playoffs. I think some people think he's been better than he is. And then one could argue Joe Ingles could be really good tonight. He's really not close to being as good on the road as he is at home. So it's just a horrible group of forwards tonight, and I'm kind of hitching the wagon on Jay Crowder and Thaddeus Young tonight, that they really do something special. Now, Thaddeus Young is not really getting shots. His big games have had a lot of rebounds, some steals and blocks. So one would think he's not going to put up crazy numbers, but crazier things have happened. So I'm really actually hoping more that Jay Crowder is the one who really steps it up tonight, and I'm hoping for a huge Chris Paul game. And we'll see what happens, but I'm projected to lose by my own standards by 14 against this guy. Now, just because someone projects a certain number for me doesn't mean I'm that confident in them, and that's why I take the notes and put these guys in the order of confidence for me. So Chris Paul is a guy, I've got him projected 35, but I have him ahead of Oladipo tonight, who projects at 50, because I think there's a higher chance that Chris Paul goes for 50 tonight than Oladipo does. But we'll see. Thanks for checking out the video, folks. Can't wait to talk about this one tomorrow, because this looks like it potentially could be a rough one. But good luck tonight. Hopefully you get that first pick. Talk to you soon. Peace.